The grift. That is what it has always been about for Donald Trump. So bribes should come as no surprise. This is an administration that is publicly broadcasting that they want Donald Trump paid. Paid to cut a better deal for Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, cut a better deal for any world leader who is willing to maybe give some money to Donald Trump's crypto coin or bribe him with a crown. But in this case, it was billions of dollars. That is the bribe Donald Trump was just caught on camera bragging about. Huge sums of money. And why? Because he is a criminal. We are going to get into it all, how Donald Trump got caught and what crime he is bragging about this time. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. And before we get into the bribe that Donald Trump got caught bragging about and got caught being presented with on camera, I want to start with how the rest of the economy is shaping up for us normal, non-billionaire criminals. And it's not good for Donald Trump's
percentage
firm.
who
It's
say
worse
that
for
we're
us,
on
though.
the right track when it comes to inflation. Just 20%, just 20% of Americans say we're on the right track. The vast majority of Americans think we're on the wrong track when it comes to inflation. What about jobs? Just 27% of Americans think we're on the right track when it comes to jobs in this country. So we're talking about under 30% on two key economic metrics. And then I'll leave you with this, Caitlin Collins, and that is Donald Trump's economic net approval rating. It is just flat out awful, and it has declined precipitously since the beginning of his second term in office. Look at this. Trump's net approval rating on the economy. In January, he was in positive territory at plus 6%. Way down he goes. Now, according to the latest Reuters Ipsos poll, he is 25 points underwater. Donald Trump was elected to fix the economy. It was a strength for him during his first term, but at this point, it is an anchor on him, and that is why we're seeing poll after poll after poll showing him with a net negative approval rating, and in some polls, the worst approval rating he has had in his entire second term.
This is the issue that, above all else, Donald Trump gave the most focus to on the campaign trail. Well, I'd say aside from the whining and complaining about his personal grievance and mixed in with maybe a little Hannibal Lecter, some whales, some windmills, all of that stuff. But it was the economy. Donald Trump said prices would go down on day one. Have we seen that? No. But that was the theme of Donald Trump on the campaign trail, that he was the businessman, that he knew what he was talking about, the guy who bankrupted casinos and is really just best known for slapping his name on ugly buildings, and as he tries to make the White House worse, and now I guess we have the Trump Kennedy Center, that's also his political career. But that's what Donald Trump said he was going to do. He also made another promise. It was about the Epstein files. These two issues have dominated Donald Trump's presidency the most so far, and they relate, of course, because all of this is connected to the bribe that he was just offered up. Because it's coming, this criminal bribe, from within the Epstein inner circle, the Epstein class, as Ro Khanna has perfectly termed it. It is why this breakdown of all of those who were close to Epstein and now close to Trump from Rachel Maddow is so important before we get into Trump getting caught.
What happened to the lawyer who got Epstein his bizarrely lenient plea deal when he was first arrested on sex trafficking charges in Florida? What happened to the lawyer who got him that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Well, Trump hired him to be his own lawyer. What happened to the U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Oh, Trump put him in his cabinet in his first term. Well, who then prosecuted Epstein a second time when he was brought up on federal charges? Oh, that was the SDNY line prosecutor who Trump inexplicably fired last week. Who was in charge of the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons when Epstein then killed himself in federal custody? President Donald Trump. Who bragged to a reporter about how much Epstein seemed to like women on the younger side? Who said Epstein was a lot of fun to be with? Who bragged that he was friends with Epstein for 15 years? Who flew on his plane at least 7 times? And who now says that everybody needs to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein right now? Answers there are Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump.
That lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, that is an important name. That is an important name in understanding the story of Donald Trump's criminality. This is a man who's defended Donald Trump, both, of course, from his crimes, but also in public. And as we've seen lately, it seems like a lot of the media figures, a columnist for the New York Times, in fact, who said, well, I'll just move on from talking about Jeffrey Epstein was actually connected with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's the same thing with Dershowitz. Of course, we know their deep and very public connection, but of course, this guy is going to be defending Donald Trump. But he's not just going to be defending him when it comes to the conversation around Epstein. He's been defending Donald Trump in other ways, and actually colluding with Donald Trump's biggest donor, not Elon Musk, a woman named Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson. It's an important name to know. And it's an important figure to pay attention to, especially when she is making her corruption and her bribes very public, and did it on camera with Donald Trump right here.
And now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years. And I said, Alan, I agree with you. So we can do it. Think about it.
Alan's here someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here. Oh, he had a flight. Alan is here. Think about it.
Thank you.
Maybe I will be the first one who told you, or second. Yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another 250.
I will give.
But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy.
Miriam Adelson is an Israeli-American billionaire who is the widow of Sheldon Adelson, who was the casino magnate in Texas. She has been a big player, much like her late husband was, in Republican politics. She gave Donald Trump $250 million. $250 million. $250 million in the last election. His biggest donor. And what does she say now? Donald, you've done such great things for us billionaires. You've done such great things to allow this unregulated gambling plague to take over our society. You've done such great things for the state of Israel, which Miriam Adelson, of course, cares more about than the United States. And of course, more than the well-being of the people in the United States, she cares about herself. That is how billionaires operate. You don't get that much money without having no empathy, but she is telling Donald Trump, run again, I'll write you another check. Run again for an illegal third term, I'll write you another check. Defy the Constitution, an Israeli billionaire, and I'll give you $250 million. And more money will come from that. We'll give you even more money. How about that, Donald? Alan Dershowitz, your buddy, the Epstein pal, and I were working this thing through. Here's a big bribe to run for an illegal third term. Don't think that these people are just joking around. Miriam Adelson has benefited tremendously from the Donald Trump presidency. She has lobbied Donald Trump to allow Israel to do whatever it wants. He has allowed Netanyahu, a criminal much like himself, to run rampant and continue the genocide that has been carried out by this regime and by that apartheid state. And Miriam Adelson has loved every second. Consistently coming to the White House, consistently talking about what a great friend Donald Trump has been to the genocidal regime in Israel. And now this is a woman giving Donald Trump essentially a blank check to defy our Constitution, to take an unpatriotic action so that he can further her fortune and further the pursuit of a greater Israel. Stealing land from the Palestinian people, continuing a genocide, that is what the $250 million that Miriam Adelson already gave and will give again is going towards. The expansion of her wealth and the expansion of an apartheid state. And Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's lawyer, is on board. Think about that. Those are the people, that's the slice of demographic that is backing Donald Trump in a third term. And I worry less, and Governor Newsom said this, I worry less about the Trump third term theatrics, as Governor Newsom said, because of quality of life, the state of his body and the state of his mind. It makes it a little less concerning, but it is real. And it is real that Donald Trump is being bribed by the billionaires around him to say, hey, how about you try to hold on to power? Do you know who has the most to gain from a J.D. Vance presidency? It's not even J.D. Vance. It is the men who built his political career. J.D. Vance is not this incredibly charismatic, charming, come out of nowhere, insurgent AOC, Zohran Mamdani type. He's not a young guy who just, it was undeniable. You hear J.D. Vance talking, you say, that's the future of America. No. That wasn't J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance's career was built by these same tech oligarchs who helped get Donald Trump elected president, who made Donald Trump. And it's a funny story how they did. Tucker Carlson, Don Jr., Peter Thiel, Elon Musk were telling Trump when they were backing him with the money. But Tucker specifically and Don Jr. said, you got to pick J.D. Vance as your running mate, because if you don't, and this was right after that first assassination attempt, if you don't, the neocons, the Nikki Haley's of the world, even like the Marco Rubios, they'll try to get you, they will, so that they can have their favorable presidential candidate. The deep state is going to try to get rid of you if you don't pick Vance as your VP, because he's one of us, he's MAGA. J.D. Vance, the ultimate opportunist. He's the one you can really trust. A joke. But why those guys wanted Vance as vice president is because they know, being the greedy, self-obsessed, narcissistic sleazeballs that they are, that what they're banking on is not an economy that is booming, right? If you are Mark Zuckerberg, if you are Sam Altman, if you are Elon Musk, right, if you are Peter Thiel, you don't want the economy to do well, right? This is no longer Republicans are good for businessmen because, the economy is going to do well. First of all, the economy doesn't do well under Republicans. We understand that. But what J.D. Vance could do for the Zucks, the Peter Thiels, the Elon Musk, these guys who made his political career, is could continue Donald Trump's project of letting AI run rampant. Unregulated industry. Saying you don't deserve fresh water, but those data centers do. We're going to complain that conservatives, we're not allowed to have free speech, which is bullshit. But your speech, it's going to be monitored by Palantir, by Larry Ellison. These guys are going to have complete surveillance over you, and they're going to make $1 trillion doing it. The guys backing J.D. Vance don't want to see an economy that's, 4%, 5% GDP growth year over year. They want to see explosive AI growth that costs us tens of millions of jobs, but profits them trillions of dollars. They want to be trillionaires. They want to own everything. And that is what J.D. Vance is promising them. And so what does this have to do with Miriam Adelson? Those are the type of people who are obsessed with their fortunes, who are obsessed with furthering the state of Israel, any cause furthering the genocide that they're carrying out. Those people are offering up huge sums of money to Donald Trump, to the people around them, to sell us all out. And they are doing it with the same people who protected Jeffrey Epstein. The Epstein class wants to see unregulated AI, data centers on every corner, and the protection of the war criminals carrying out a genocide in Israel. Slaughtering innocent Palestinians in Gaza. Those things are all connected, and they're saying it publicly. And we got to call it out. We are going to on this show. I hope that wasn't too conspiratorial, because it's true. That's just the truth. That's what's happening right now. I know that maybe it was a different rant than we usually do on the show, but it's an important one. We're going to keep talking about these issues. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.